Hi everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. So usually we'd start off with our standard agenda, but today we're actually going to bypass all of that and just dive straight into things. We're looking at a deeply chilling, absolutely tragic narrative that completely gripped a nation. It's basically a masterclass in how the perfect suburban illusion can just unravel. We're going to examine the hard facts, the timeline of a fatal obsession, and the haunting aftermath of a choice that literally couldn't be unmade. Let's get right into it. I just wanted a different life. Man, those words just echo, don't they? That's the exact haunting quote spoken in a courtroom by a woman named Elena Brooks. And get this, at her trial, there were no tears. There were no logical explanations, just this single, incredibly empty sentence. But to really wrap our heads around how a seemingly perfect mother ended up uttering those chilling words in front of a judge, we've got to step back in time. We need to look at what her baseline life was like before the storm hit. Section 1. The Suburban Illusion. Okay, let's dive into this. We start off in the quiet heart of suburban Ohio. Elena Brooks was living what you pretty much call the American dream, right? White picket fences, perfectly trimmed lawns, the whole shebang. She was a mother of 3, known for her warm smile, her constant presence at PTA meetings, and always being reliable for school pickups. And what this brilliantly illustrates is the absolutely stark contrast between her trusted public facade and the dark reality that was brewing underneath. She was someone people trusted implicitly. Literally no one ever questioned her. Section 2. The Fatal Obsession. But, illusions eventually shatter. And the catalyst for all of this, it seemed so insignificant at first. His name was Daniel Hayes. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that Daniel wasn't even supposed to matter. He was meant to just be a passing distraction for Elena, but he gave her something her perfect suburban life apparently lacked. He made her feel alive again. The catch, though, was that Daniel brought a totally different set of rules with him. And those rules were about to violently collide with Elena's reality. The incompatibility between these two was just absolute. Think about it. On one side, you have Elena's world, which fundamentally revolved around her 3 kids and her domestic routine. On the other side, Daniel's rules, cold, unspoken, and strictly no complications. He absolutely did not want her life. No kids, no PTA meetings, no white fences. Now, at first, Elena actually thought she could juggle both. Actually, scratch that. It's more like she thought she could force 2 completely different puzzle pieces together. She thought she could keep the suburban illusion going while indulging in the distraction. But obsession doesn't share space. It consumes it. Section 3. The Ultimatum. Let's move to and see how this builds, because when you force 2 incompatible realities together, something eventually has to give. The obsession wasn't just a distraction anymore. It was actively destroying her ability to even exist in her own home. Her psychological descent sped up incredibly fast. It started as weeks of trying to balance both worlds, but then that degraded into days of late nights and intense whispered arguments. The tension was skyrocketing. And then those arguments compressed into mere hours, where her desperate promises mutated into hard, unforgiving ultimatums. She was backed into a psychological corner, facing an impossible decision. You choose. Daniel delivered those 2 words with a voice that was calm but entirely final. Take a second to let the gravity of that sink in. In that quiet, devastating moment, something inside of Elena broke. The immediate aftermath of that ultimatum completely transformed her home. The house got quieter, it got heavier, it was filled with that kind of crushing silence that presses against your ears until you can literally hear your own heartbeat. That very evening, while that silence was deafening her, Elena's children were laughing in the living room, totally unaware, innocent, and trusting. And Elena? She stood right there in the doorway, watching them. But there was a chilling distinction here. She wasn't watching them as a mother anymore. She was watching them as someone standing at the very edge of a decision she could never, ever come back from. Section 4. The Tragic Aftermath. The next morning, the neighborhood woke up to flashing lights. Swarms of police cars flooding the streets. And the undeniable finality of yellow crime scene tape cordoning off that perfect lawn. Amidst all of this sudden chaos, Elena was found just sitting on her front steps. Her hands were trembling, sure, but her face was completely empty. Whatever storm had driven her to this unimaginable point was just gone. The frantic obsession, the whispered arguments, that heavy silence, it was all spent.
Only the cold, horrifying aftermath remained.
Section 5. The final warning.
So, the crucial point is looking at the incredible irony of what happened next. Daniel Hayes, the guy she sacrificed literally everything for, he disappeared. He never showed up, he never called, he erased himself. Guys like Daniel vanish the second the darkness they spark burns everything to the ground. And Elena? Well, she actually got the new life she asked for. Except that new life is a silent cell, its cold walls, and a mind haunted by memories that will never, ever stop replaying. In her attempt to destroy her old life, she didn't just ruin the people around her, she completely erased her own humanity.
Elena Brooks is no longer just a mother from suburban Ohio. She's a living warning to the rest of us. A warning that, yeah, we all make choices every single day, but there are certain lines you can cross where the whole concept of change just doesn't apply anymore. Some choices don't just change your life, they end it.
I want to leave you with this final thought. When the illusion of perfection is stripped away and we let the destructive nature of obsession take the wheel, what are we actually willing to sacrifice? Just look at Elena's trajectory, from PTA meetings to a silent prison cell. Look at those empty words, "I just wanted a different life." It really forces all of us to impartially consider the devastating weight of our own desires. So, what is the true price of wanting a different life? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep analyzing, keep asking questions, and I'll catch you next time.